Imagine losing an arm in an accident. Your body does not just scar over, it grows back the entire limb. Bones, muscles, nerves, skin, perfectly. No pain, no disability. Scientists have watched this happen in real animals, not in movies, not in fiction like Deadpool. In living creatures today, like a child's fingertip growing back after being cut or amputated. Stay with me. This video will change everything you think about healing. In the next few minutes, you will discover the real biology behind limb generation. You will see how salamanders rebuild perfect limbs while you cannot regrow so much as a fingernail past your first joint. You will learn about groundbreaking experiments that push mammals closer to the same ability. You will understand why this science matters for people who lose limbs today. By the end, you will see a future where regrowing body parts moves from comic books into actual lab experiments in hospitals. This is not a hype. It is happening right now in our lifetime. Let's start with the part everyone gets wrong. Regeneration is not magic skin glue. It is a structure called a blastema. Basically, cells reverting back to embryonic level growth stage. When a salamander loses a limb, the cells at the wound do not just patch the hole. They partially forget what they were. Skin cells, muscle cells, and bone cells near the cut all dial back to a more flexible, younger state. They pile up into a small bump of growing tissue, or blastema, which then rebuilds the missing limb piece by piece in the correct order all the way to a working hand. Surprising fact number 1. The blastema is not confused about what to build. Cells in a regenerating salamander limb seem to remember exactly where they were positioned in the original limb. So a wrist injury regrows a hand, while a shoulder injury regrows an entire arm. The tissue is reading a kind of internal map. Surprising fact number 2. Humans build a version of this same structure. The fingertip we mentioned in the beginning forms a tiny human blastema, but it only works in a narrow window, mainly in young children, and only if enough of the nail bed survives the injury. Past that window, the body switches strategies completely. It stops trying to rebuild and starts laying down scar tissue instead. Scar is fast, it's cheap, scar is also a dead end. So the real question is not, can the human body regenerate? It already can, a little. The real question is, why evolution traded away that ability almost everywhere else on the body? Let me know your guesses in the comments. In the 1990s, researchers noticed something strange about a lab mouse strain called MRL. Punch a small hole through the ear of a normal mouse, and it heals shut with the scar tissue, leaving a permanent gap. Punch the exact same hole in an MRL mouse, and within about a month, the hole closes completely. New cartilage grows back. New skin grows back. The ear looks untouched. Researchers then went further and amputated the very tips of MRL mouse digits. Most adult mammals simply heal over a stump. The MRL mouse grew a blastema-like structure at the wound site, similar in appearance to the early stage of salamander limb regrowth. This was the first solid proof that regeneration was not some ancient ability lost forever in mammals. It was a switch that some mammals still had access to, sitting dormant in the genome. In 2012, a team of biologists working in Kenya picked up African spiny mice for an unrelated study, and the mice tore free from their grip, leaving patches of skin behind in the researcher's hand. That alone is strange. Lizards drop tails. Mammals are not supposed to be able to shed skin like that. But the bigger discovery came after. Open wound on the mice after that injury did not scar over. They regrew, including hair follicles, sweat glands, and the original skin structure, scar-free completely. This was the first confirmed case of a mammal regenerating full-thickness skin like this. Later studies on the same animal found something even bigger. Spiny mice can regenerate full-thickness ear tissue, including cartilage. In some experiments, it even regrows injured skeletal muscle almost perfectly, with none of the fibrous scarring you would expect in a normal mouse. Two completely ordinary seeming mammals, one bred in a lab, one running wild through African grasslands. Both quietly carrying a version of the regeneration switch that we assumed mammals had lost millions of years ago. This is the experiment that should genuinely change how you think about the word impossible. Adult African clawed frogs, Xenopus laevis, do not regenerate limbs. Cut off the leg of an adult frog and you get a small useless spike, not a new leg. This has been true in every recorded case. In 2022, a team led by Michael Levin and David Kaplan at Tufts University amputated the hind legs of adult frogs. then fitted each stump with a small wearable silicone device called a bioreactor. Inside that device, for just 24 hours, the wound was bathed in a 5-drug cocktail designed to nudge the cell's electrical signaling into a more regenerative state. Then the device was removed. The frogs were left alone for 18 months. During that time, with no further treatment, the legs grew back. Not spikes, legs with bone, muscle, blood vessels, and nerves that the frogs could use to swim and respond to touch. Read that again. 24 hours of treatment triggered a year and a half of self-directed limb construction in an animal that biology said should not be capable of this at all. That is the closest thing science has produced to an actual Deadpool-style healing trigger, not a superpower, a chemical signal applied for one day that woke up a dormant building program already sitting inside the frog's own cells. Here's why this matters far beyond frogs and mice. Right now, roughly 1.5 million amputations happen every year in the world, and researchers estimate close to 80 million people will be living with the loss of an arm or a leg by 2050. The frog experiment was never just about the frogs. Levin and Kaplan built a company, Morphoceuticals, specifically to move this bioreactor and drug cocktail approach towards mammals, with the explicit long-term goal of human limb regeneration. The logic underneath all of this is the same as that from the fingertip regrowth at the start of this video. The instructions for building a limb are not gone in humans. They are not gone in frogs either. They are buried under a more recently evolved instinct to scar over a wound fast and move on, which is great for surviving infection in the wild and terrible if you would rather grow back a functioning hand. Spiny mice and MRL mice prove that some mammals already have partial access to the old building program. The frog experiment proves that the program can sometimes be switched back on from the outside in an adult animal without genetic engineering, using something closer to a drug treatment than surgery. This is also why the science of axolotls, the salamander that can regrow limbs, organs, and even parts of its brain in its entire life, is still one of the most heavily studied animals in regenerative biology labs today. Every gene that turns on inside an axolotl blastema is a potential clue to a switch humans might still have, just turned off. None of this means a clinic down the street that will regrow you a new leg next year. The frog work alone took years from early tadpole tail experiments to a fully regrown adult limb, and mammals add a layer of complexity frogs do not have. But for the first time, the goal is no longer theoretical. It is a published result with a method, a dosage, and a timeline, sitting in a peer-reviewed journal. A child's fingertip already knows how to do this. A mouse covered in spines already knows how to do this. A salamander has known how to do this since before mammals existed. The strange part was never that regeneration is impossible. The strange part, it is that most of us are walking around with the blueprint for it switched off and sitting quietly inside our own cells, waiting for someone to find the right button. That's it for today's video. Who is your favorite superhero with healing powers? Let me know in the comments. Click on subscribe to get the latest videos.